Gavin, please stay on top of lane calls for me, just like I know you love to do. Thank you, sir.
You just called modified.
I did. I will put the final call out here in just a minute.
We only have 2 modified cars. We have 2 Brawlers.
Right, so we're going to have to be on top of that.
So once you see 1 modified car there, just go ahead and call off.
Got it. All right, here comes our first pair in the 1050 class again. Your job is to get as close to 1050 as possible without going under it. That'll move you up the ladder. Austin Stevens and Mulatto Garcia. Mulatto in the Honda, Austin in the American, and Austin having trouble off the starting line. The Honda will roll through at 1056 and 133 miles an hour left-hand side. So the Civic 600's above the index to go to the #1 qualifying spot. Austin Stevens slows to a 14-second pass. Hopefully he can put it back together to get everything where he needs it to be for qualifier number 2. Once again, my final call, modified, lanes 11 and 12, modified, lanes 11 and 12, please. Brawlers versus Tres Quattro, lanes 13 and 14. Brawlers versus 3/4, lanes 13 and 14. Your final call for qualifier number 1. That will put all-wheel drive versus DCT and stick-shift shootout on standby. Ryan Norton and Gabrielle Feliciano. Feliciano in the Honda, Norton in the pickup truck. Both looking for 1050 as they head to the finish line. 1057 at 126 for Norton. 1064 at 123 for Gabrielle. So the closer of the two is Ryan Norton. 1057 will slide him into the #2 spot. Gabrielle will move into the #4 spot. The BMW versus Classic Chevy Nova battle next. Manuel Abante out of Newport Richey, Florida. 2018 model Audi. Actually, I thought that was BMW, but my apologies. He's right-hand side of the racetrack. John Enfield out of Dade City. 1973 model Chevy Nova. He'll stage up left-hand side. Wheel standing off the starting line for Enfield as the small block Nova heads to the finish line in front of the Audi. Looking for 1050. And goes 1055 with a 4 and 118, so that'll move him into the either #1 or #2 qualifying spot. 1064, 130 for Manuel in the 2018 Audi, not a bad pass either. He's 1400s above the index. And so far, our first 6 cars have shown that they are able to get close to that 1050 index, but so far, 1055 our best out of all of them. Actually, correct myself. 5 of the 6 have made good passes. Austin Stevens having some trouble in the American, but considering he went late in the rounds at 1050 at FL2K, I expect him to rebound with no problem. Johnny Nitro and Kenny Rosa. Rosa in the 97 Tacoma right-hand side, and Johnny Nitro in the 95 Civic. Final call for modified and final call for Brawlers versus 3/4. I'm looking for you. I don't have any of you yet. 1120 at 129 for Johnny Nitro. He's 7/10 above the index. 1403 at 121 miles an hour for Kenny Rosa. Rosa had some traction troubles off the starting line with the Tacoma. So once again, modified and Brawlers versus 3/4. You need to be in the lanes, please. Modified lanes 11 and 12. Brawlers versus 3/4 lanes 13 and 14, please. That'll bring up Faith Frost. Faith is from Bradenton, Florida. She's from right here. This is her home track. 1967 model Mustang, 443 cubic inches of small block Ford on board left side. And Faith with a very respectable 021 reaction time. Now, how does she do against the 1050 index? 1049 with a 0/100th of a second under the index. They work so hard to get the car right on that 1050 index, and that's 100th away. It's a good run. Unfortunately, it is under, but still a very good run with a great reaction time. I have no doubt that they will come back and figure out a way to get above the 1050 index and move up on the qualifying sheet. Christian Elsnick in the BMW out of Bradenton, right-hand side next. Left-hand side, the right-hand driver, Supra, is Andy. That's all it says. Apparently, Andy likes going by one name only. Andy out of St. Petersburg in the 97 Supra. This has got to be an export car considering it's a right-hand driver. Still nothing on the west side? Still nothing on the west side staging lights? Okay. They are headed towards the finish line. Right side goes 11:21 at 1:14. Left side goes 13:76 at 1:12. That will officially wrap us up for 10:50. As I mentioned earlier, 10:55 being run by two competitors, so those will be your number 1 and number 2 qualifiers. Attention in the bits, attention in the bits. I need all-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT to lanes 11 and 12, please. Yeah, here comes one of them. I don't know which class it's in. All-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT, lanes 11 and 12, please. Mike Van Zyl coming up left-hand side in the Challenger. He ran 950 twice, and this time goes too fast. 946 for 2. His crewman shaking his head like, dude, we just went 950 twice. Where'd the 946 come from? 956, 143 for the Nova. Right-hand side, gonna put the Nova in the number 1 qualifying spot. Let's move to another Nova. It's Ray Jerry's and Jim McMillan. McMillan in the index-based Buick Regal out of Port Charlotte, Florida, right-hand side. He's a regular out here at Bradenton. Left-hand side is also a regular. Northport, Florida base for the 1978 Nova, Ray Jerry's. Green lights, and Jim McMillan is 001. 1,000th of a second away from a perfect reaction time. What does he run? 941. He's about 800ths under the index. Ray Jerry's is 961. He's about 1100ths above the index. So Jim McMillan, a darn near perfect reaction time, 001, but then goes a little bit too quick. Once again, I need all-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT, lanes 11 and 12, please. All-wheel drive versus DCT, lanes 11 and 12 at this time, please. Nova versus Charger in our next matchup. Angelo Rivera and Robert Riggs. Riggs in the 71 Nova right side, the better reaction time. And a 955. He is closer to the index. That will get him the number 1 qualifying spot for the moment. Rivera goes 923 tenths under the index in the Charger at 142 miles an hour. So obviously he's got the power to be able to run 920, 950. He just needs to slow it down just a little bit. Chill Hicks and Christopher Hartzberger. Hartzberger in the 1996 Civic out of Orlando, Florida. That's the black car, left-hand side of the racetrack. Going up against the 2017 Camaro, the 6th gen model, out of Eagle, Michigan, for Jill Hicks. Probably a little warmer right now here than it is in Michigan. Jill decided to stick in Florida. She decided she wants to go racing this weekend, so she'll stage up right-hand side. Once again, all-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT, lanes 11 and 12, please. Honda to the finish line. Honda goes 966 at 139. That's a good pass for them. 1110 at 135 for Jill Hicks. I have to wonder if Jill, with that speed, wants to run 1050.
One more 950, and then we'll have a later drive on 1050.
So Jill Hicks a good bit above the index. The Civic 1600's above the index. Let's bring up another 6th gen Camaro. This one is Mallory Dominguez. Mallory's car. The license plate says quiet, but as you heard by the burnout, it is not quite. Just a little louder than stock. 2018 model Camaro out of Naples, Florida. That's right-hand side. Left-hand side, the all-wheel drive 02 Subaru of Darnell Brown out of Gainesville. That's my hometown. Darnell ripped off a 930 pass earlier. Camaro out in front. Camaro gets there first and goes 927 too quick. 956 at 147 for Darnell Brown is a good run. 600's above the index. We'll slide him into the number 2 qualifying spot. Once again, I am looking for all-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT, lanes 11 and 12, please. All-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT, lanes 11 and 12, please. What do you want, Gavin? You want me to call Brawler again?
Yeah, final call for Brawler.
Final call for Brawlers versus 3/4. Final call. Brawlers versus Trace Quattro, lanes 13 and 14. Brawlers versus 3/4. Brawlers versus Trace Quattro, lanes 13 and 14. I need you at this time, please. Once again, all-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT, lanes 11 and 12, please.
All-wheel drive cars back. Leave it back there, Joseph, until we get the other modified cars up here.
Do you have those modified cars there? Should be easy to get the other one around, I guess, right?
All will have one more 950 car and a 1050 car.
So another 950 index car. This is Carlos Perez out of Waxahachie. The 1990 model CRX, heading down left side looking for 950 and gets 996 at 138. So about 4,600s above the index. But has completed the qualifier and will go on the sheet. And looks like we might have one more late arrival for index. Hey, Law, do you know if O&J is the sponsor for the index class? Because I don't see it in the book. Okay. So finishing up the last of our index classes, a shout out to O&J Performance. They are the official sponsors of the index classes here at the reunion. Your number one source for high performance parts. They bring you the highest quality and proven performance product. You can get free shipping on a $500 online order. They carry such brands including turbosmart, McLeod Racing, Brian Crowder, Hybrid, Stroud Safety Areas, Pistons, RC Components, Wheels, ARP, Fasteners, and a lot more. Visit ojperformance.com for more information. Left side, another one of our 950 index cars as they head down the racetrack looking for that magic 950 number and get 972 130. Not a bad run. 2200s above the index. That'll get them on the qualifying sheet. And it looks like we have one more in the 1050 category. This is Jose Gonzalez out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 1999 model Civic. Left side of the racetrack. Again, this is the 1050 index car. Stick. Okay. Jose making a single pass down left side, looking for 1050. And goes 1063 at 125. Not a bad pass, 1300s above the index. They will take that. That will wrap up the index classes, the O&J Performance Index classes for qualifier number 1. And that will move us into the heads-up classes as we wait for our first two called. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. I'll take stick shift shootout. Stick shift shootout to lanes 13 and 14, please. Stick shift shootout. Stick shift shootout to lanes 13 and 14, please. Stick shift shootout. Stick shift shootout, lanes 13 and 14, if you would, please. So ladies and gentlemen, I have a total of 7 heads-up classes that will be started here momentarily. A little bit of racetrack prep going on as Wade Rich lays down some fresh glue. And we will be moving into our heads-up categories. As soon as we get all the players in the right position, we will get things started.
Am I your way? No, I was going to probably stand up.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we should be getting things started here with our modified class here momentarily as we wait for cars to come around the west side of the staging lanes. For those of you that are here on the property, if you want to check out a couple of additional camera angles, make sure you check out YouTube TV. They are here for pretty much every event that Bradenton Motorsports Park runs. We say thank you so much to them for being part of the racing action here. So go to YouTube and check out YouTube TV. That's L-U-E Tube TV. That's how you can find him. He will be broadcasting for today and tomorrow. You can tell your friends and family at home that couldn't make it out here to BMP that they can check out all the happenings going on. And if you want to find out more about all the great stuff that is going on here at Bradenton Motorsports Park, you can check out them online at racebmp.com. And you can also check out our app that you can look at that'll show you incrementals as well as times. I believe that's also racebmp. As we'll be down here for just a few minutes, and then we will get things started with our heads-up categories.
Hey, mister.
Searching for words there for a second. But I never did the so I'm sorry. Apparently my train of thought was still boarding at the station there.
Don't call another class up here until I get these lanes back here fixed up. Okay? Let me get one in the lanes before they start to fill the lanes with another class.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I'm going to put Henry Hill in the end of modified.
Hey, don't make Sean quit. Don't do it, yeah. Don't do it.
I don't think that car's actually part of the no time shootout.
He's just running. Well, there you go. Officially official.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, while we are waiting on some of our heads-up cars to come around, a couple of very interesting notes that have come out here today. As Vandermeer Speedway in Colorado has publicly announced that the racetrack's final season will be this year. The 2023 season for Vandermeer Speedway will be their final year, and the racetrack property has been sold. Now, it's been rumored for quite a while that because of the number of homes that were going up around it, that it was a very good possibility that the track would be sold or possibly subject to noise ordinances or regulations. But considering the racetrack has been there since 1958, there were high hopes that it would not happen. Now, Sporty Vandermeer actually did make the announcement today, but in doing so, has also stated that the family has been looking for a piece of property to build a new racetrack on, with loose plans of only missing next year and being ready to run once again in 2025. So that is encouraging news. However, for some people that are hearing this, unfortunately, this marks the third racetrack that is either closing after this year or is closed following the closing and demolition of Houston Raceway Park, which has been in the works for a couple of years, and they have just extended the lease on the property until the company that had purchased the land decided that they actually needed the property for warehouse space. So Houston Raceway Park, which was built and opened in 1987 and has the officiality of being the world's first 4-second drag strip. Gene Snell ran the first 4-second top fuel run at Houston Raceway Park, and the racetrack held its final NHRA event last year and was thought to have been originally shut down after the 2022 season, but Texas 2K actually got an extension and was able to hold their last event at the drag strip this year. The track closed at the beginning of April, and demolition, as I mentioned, is already underway. Now, the good news is that comes out of this is Texas 2K will relocate to Ennis, Texas, and they will run their event there for the 2024 racing season at Dallas Motorplex, or Texas Motorplex, excuse me. So there is that part of it. That event has been relocated, but unfortunately the track will be no more. Now, the second one that has come up is Wild Horse Pass in Arizona, previously known as the Arizona Nationals for NHRA and Firebird Raceway. They held their final, supposedly, NHRA National event this year. Now, the reason for this one is because of development as well as an overpass. The rumor mill has been churning ever since, stating that there is a very good possibility that the land could possibly be saved to the racetrack, not necessarily bulldozed. However, those are rumors, so we're going to have to wait and see how that holds out. Now, this latest one coming from Bandimere Speedway, and all of this following the shutdown of Atlanta Dragway back in the end of the 2021 season. So, the thing to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, on a lot of these facilities, since I have a minute here on the mic, as a racer, the biggest thing I would tell you is with social media, it is very easy for racers and fans alike to get on social media and bash racetracks rather than to constructively criticize and come up with solutions for racetracks. The reason I say this is because as a longtime racer myself, it's very easy to complain about it without actually seeing how much work and energy goes into certain things, just seeing the one things or a couple things that did not go your way when you're at the facility. Obviously, Bradenton Motorsports Park has faced their own possibility of encroachment with, what is it, law, 8,000 homes being built in the surrounding areas. And just across the state, Palm Beach International Dragway has been shut down for almost an entire year, while the parent company, IRG, has been trying to get the property rezoned to use for warehouse space. But it has been defeated now twice. Their third and final hearing in front of the board was on Wednesday the 19th. And the judge has until the 3rd of May to deliver the verdict. Now, of course, if the rezoning goes through, it's all, according to most people, all but a death sentence for the racetrack. Of course, you still have to find a buyer. The rumor mill that has circulated is Portman Industries, a subsidiary of Walmart, had bought both Palm Beach International Raceway, or was going to buy it, as well as Memphis International Raceway, to create warehouses on the space. There have been several interested parties that have wanted to keep Palm Beach International Raceway a track and not let it go into becoming warehouse space. So we'll see how that one all pans out, but for several racers on the East Coast, the shutdown of what was formerly known as Moroso Motorsports Park has been a tough one because the next closest racetrack is over 2 hours away from that location. You could drive to Orlando Speed World Dragway, you can go to Immokalee Raceway, or you can come across the state here to BMP. So as I mentioned, if anything that has come out of the last 3 years of track closures, and I can completely understand with the way property values are, but to keep the future of our sport alive and well, even though there are still several hundred racetracks across the United States and Canada that are operational and still doing well. There's actually been reports of 2 different racetracks this year being bought out of neglect or foreclosure to be brought back into use again. So again, it is not all grim news, but I would highly advise that if you do have a problem with a track, that you consider using alternative methods to social media. Because the problem is that it is very easy for social media to portray a bad picture when in reality it could be 95% good and 5% negative. So I would ask that you keep that in mind as just something to think about when you're giving feedback on your racing facility that you have recently visited. So ladies and gentlemen, we have modified Brawlers versus 3/4, all-wheel drive versus DCT, and stick shift shootout. Those classes have been called. Looks like we are about to get things started here in the modified class. Once again, we are live and streaming on LuTube TV. You can find them on YouTube at LuTube TV. That's LUE Tube TV. And we're going to get things started here with the modified category in just a minute. So with this being our first qualifier, and some of the cars that are coming up have not made passes yet in the tested tune, and we do not have tech cards on every vehicle. I do not have information on every driver as of yet. So our first pair out here. Right-hand side is Aileen Morales. Morales out of St. Cloud, Florida, in the Mazda RX-8. That's the tan car on the right-hand side of the racetrack. So our first pair of modified cars. Chances are we will see more for our second one as we start to work our way into the evening hours here on Friday at Bradenton Motorsports Park. The induction performance modified category. Here we go. Left side, a little bit of a falter off the starting line. Will roll to the finish line and go 736 at 155 miles an hour. Unfortunately, the right-hand side pushing through the beams and will not get a time. Unfortunately, when they went to bump into the beams, they bumped completely through them and will not get an ET. So left side will go on the ladder. Right-hand side, unfortunately, will not get a time and have to come up for Q2.
Three cars in modified according to the pre-registered, but none of them were even like named there. Like the one we named, the right-hand side, wasn't even on the list. Yes. Once again, all-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT. If you are not in the lanes, you're about to be late. All-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT. I need you to the lanes, please. All-wheel drive versus DCT. Oh, it's smaller and it's modified.
Okay, so we have three now. Here comes our next pair, another Mazda RX-8, left side of the racetrack. I do not have any information on that driver as of yet. Again, some cars just making it through tech inspection. We will have that information for you hopefully by Q2. Right-hand side is Derek Santiago. Santiago out of Main City, Florida, a 2023 model Acura TLX. That is the purple and white car. And it made a quick run earlier, going 399 at
PBT at 7:36. That's what needs to be beat for the number 1 qualifying spot. Off we go. Right hand side way out in front. Left side staying with him. 6:16 at 2:25 right hand side. 6:57 at 2:13 left hand side as both cars make very good runs. And Derek Santiago will go to the number 1 qualifying spot, ladies and gentlemen. 6:16 with a 1 at 2:25 with the top qualifying spot. The RX-8 on the left-hand side, 6:57 with a 4 at 2:13 will qualify in the number 2 spot. And a 7:36 with a 7 at 1:55, a coasting second half track pass, will land number 3. So once again, all-wheel drive versus DCT, lanes 11 and 12, please. If you're not there, you're about to be late. All-wheel drive versus DCT, lanes 11 and 12. If you're not there, you're about to be late. Stick shift shootout, lanes 13 and 14, please. Stick shift shootout in each of the lanes 13 and 14, please. So we have a single pass coming up here for the no-time car of Kaylee Mills. Father Dwayne Mills. Behind the Golden Gorilla here, backed by Bastion Truck Sales, the blower car. Left side of the racetrack, Haley has been running in the No Prep Series and been down here doing some testing. And we'll make a single pass here in the Camaro. They have checked the wheelie bars. They're right where they want it. They're going to wave her forward into the pre-stage feed. So again, Kaylee not qualifying with a class. This is just a test drive. And she makes about a 330-foot hit and then clicks it off. And because we are in no-time format, I will not have any data to share with you on the run. So here comes our next pair. And we'll move us into the Brawlers versus 3/4 class. Camilo Velez out of Lake Wales, Florida, the 1995 model Mazda RX-7. That's the black car, left-hand side of the racetrack. We'll stage up against Mike Asimiro. Ace-Federo out of Tampa, Florida, the 1988 model Toyota Corolla is on the right-hand side of the racetrack. So Esvito right side, Velez left side. In the Brawlers versus Twist Quattro class, about to get started here. Off the starting line, the Mazda still at the front end of the air at the 330-foot mark all the way. 689 at 199.43 miles an hour for Camilo Velez, and that is a solid shot. 689.5 at 199. Esvito goes 772 at a coasting 153 in the Corolla right-hand side. Camilo opening up with a shot, 689. And the front end was in the air until the 330-foot mark, and then finally set back down in the 3/4 chassis and ran a solid number to qualify number 1 for the moment.
our next pair. Backing up after their burnouts, Harold Gomez and Ryan Rodriguez. Gomez left side out of San Juan, Puerto Rico. The RX-7 chassis, yes, very similar to what you just saw go down in the black car. He will stage up left-hand side of the racetrack. Right-hand side, Ryan Rodriguez out of San Antonio, Texas. A 1972 model Nissan, yeah, a little small, short wheelbase car. That's the yellow car on the right side of the racetrack. As they get their wheelie bar set just in the right spot. So left side waiting patiently. Right-hand side. Getting into just the right spot that the crew wants them in. Again, 6:89 is the time to beat. Both cars now pre-staged. They're going to build some boost and bring them up. Both of them inch in. We're ready. Line, and once again, the Mazda with the front end in the air, and it's starting to make a move towards the left side retaining wall. So Gomez very wisely backs out of it and will coast to an 11-second pass. Ryan also having problems on the right side of the racetrack and will also coast down the racetrack. Harold on a 1:08, 60-foot time left side. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, the front end in the air, and he could not get it back down, and the car made a move to the left. And you can't steer the car with the front end in the air, so when the car started to move to the left, and he can see the wall getting close, at that point, you have to decide to abort the run and come back for Q2. That'll bring up Gary Mason in. Gary out of Brandon, Florida, our third RX-7 chassis. Will come up left side of the racetrack. In the Brawlers versus Tres Quattro class.
Is this our last one?
Okay. Do I need to call anything else, or are we still good? Okay. Left side ready. Off the starting line. Gary still hanging on to it. 6:89 is the time to beat. And he gets out of the gas early and goes 7:27 at 167. A 1:10.60 foot. 4:61 with a 9 at 1:56.5 to the 8th mile. It was a good shot. And then he got down to the top end of the racetrack. And some smoke started to come out of the car, so he lifted. And we'll slide into the number 2 qualifying spot for the moment. Here comes our next pair. A pair of Toyota Starlets will line up here. Couple of very nice examples as well. Left side is Rafael Fuentes. Fuentes out of St. Cloud, Florida in the red Starlet. He's left-hand side of the racetrack as they get the wheelie bars set. Carlos in the silver Starlet, right-hand side of the racetrack out of Orlando, Florida. As both of them get into just the right spot that they want. Crews have lined them up right where they need them to be. Now it's going to be all on the drivers to get it right.
Once again, 6:89 is the time to beat. They are pre-staged. Left side is ready. Right side gets in, and they were off. A lot of tire shake, a lot of wheel stand. Left-hand side, they are side by side. Right side pulls ahead. 670 at 210 miles an hour. Right side, ladies and gentlemen, your new #1 qualifier. Right side of the racetrack. And a 737. Left-hand side of the racetrack, lifting early at just 146. Not a bad lap to the half-track mark, but both drivers had to drive the cars very aggressively.
Yeah, this is all-wheel drive versus DCT. What would you like? Do you want me to call next? Call stick. I haven't called Streetcar yet. Yes?
All right, here you go with all-wheel drive versus DCT. Brought to us by Fuel Injector Clinic. Left side is Jan Bueller in the GTR out of Sissio Performance. Right side is Tony Ernest, the Audi out of Sissio Performance. At this time, I will take Streetcar Shootout. Streetcar Shootout to the lanes, please. Lanes 11 and 12. Streetcar Shootout. Streetcar Shootout. I will take you to the lanes, please. Streetcar Shootout. Streetcar Shootout. For qualifier number 1, lanes 11 and 12, please.
Streetcar shootout.
So what happened here, ladies and gentlemen, we are in qualifying, and once you stage and the tree is activated, it is your one shot. We do not do a second shot in qualifying like we do in testing. Everybody gets the same shot, one shot only per session. So right-hand side did not stage in time. Left-hand side backed out after receiving the green light. So unfortunately, left side's time will be decently high, but unfortunately right-hand side will not get a time, so neither car will officially go on the qualifying sheet, as neither one will officially receive a time.
Eli's still on it. Reporting time right now. So if he makes the pass, he'll get an ED. But he needs to go now.
Yeah, you can't back up and back forward.
Once again, my final call, stick shift shootout. Final call, stick shift shootout, lanes 13 to 14. Final call, stick shift shootout. Stick shift shootout, I need you.
It's going to show a lot on air.
So 188.96 miles an hour for the GTR. So again, this is a all-wheel drive versus DCT class brought to us by Fuel Injector Clinic. The one class that is run on not a pro tree, this is a sportsman tree because of the amount of time needed to get the cars to spool up and get up against the DCT transmission. You run them on a full tree. Kevin Stowe left side in the Lamborghini. Left-hand side is the 2000 model Honda of Alfredo Morales out of Tamaras, Florida. So he'll stage up left-hand side. Right-hand side is the Lamborghini for Kevin Stowe. So once again, final call, stick shift shootout. Final call, stick shift shootout, I need you now. Second call for Streetcar Shootout. Second call, Streetcar Shootout, lanes 11 and 12, please. Second call, Streetcar Shootout. They're staged and ready. Green light on. Kevin Stowe having some trouble off the start line, but has now got the car underway. And the all-wheel drive Honda in pursuit. To the finish line they go, 885 and 171 for Kevin Stowe, 863 and 145 for Alfredo. Alfredo with the better elapsed time, so the Honda will go to the #1 qualifying spot for the moment. So once again, final call, stick shift shootout, lanes 13 and 14. Final call, stick
Stick shift shootout, qualifier number 1, lanes 13 and 14, please. Third call for streetcar shootout. Third call, streetcar shootout. Lanes 11 and 12, please. Our next pair up here, Azier Torres, the 2009 model Nissan GTR. Looks like he might be having problems. We may send the Honda on a single pass left-hand side of the racetrack. So Azier, who made a really good shot earlier today. In testing, may be done here. As we wait on the official word. So yes, word being given, we are going to send them down on an opponent broke single. So left-hand side, the Honda will get a single pass. The Honda down left-hand side of the racetrack on the single pass will stop the timers at 7:58, 190.35 miles an hour for the Honda. That will move them to the #1 qualifying spot. And a tough break for Azier Torres, unfortunately having trouble with the GTR, and he will miss the first qualifying session. So that will wrap up the all-wheel drive versus DCT class. We will do a little bit of prep work for stick shift shootout. So again, stick shift shootout and streetcar shootout. Stick shift shootout and streetcar shootout classes. I need you now, please. Stick shift shootout and streetcar shootout. I need you now, please, for qualifier number 1. Stick shift to lane 13, 14. Streetcar shootout lanes 11 and 12, please. That'll put no time shootout and extreme front wheel drive on standby. So again, we are 3 classes down now in the heads-up category. We have 4 classes remaining. I have called stick shift shootout and streetcar shootout. That will put no time shootout and extreme front wheel drive on standby.
Yeah. Back up. So it was a motion of, like I was looking at the guy next to me, not the car, but the actual stager, and he's like making a motion. I didn't understand what he was saying.
Yeah, he was trying to tell you to put up.
Yeah, so I kind of like, I was doing what I was supposed to do. You know?
So in the future, anytime you are pre-stating, you have 3 yellows and green, goes off. Like this guy, the blue car right there, because he didn't go down that down right there, he doesn't do it. He wasn't able to stay small.
All right, sounds good.
in the stick shift shootout class. John Rogers and Joel Granis. Granis, who has been in the sixes well over 200 miles an hour in his Supra, former record holder. Now, in front of the current record holder, that's Jonathan Atkins. He's in the water in the white Camaro. But talking about Joel out of Palm City in the Supra. John Rogers in the Nissan 240 left side. Here we go. John off the starting line. He got hooked up good. To the finish line he goes. 7:55 at 186 for Jonathan Rogers. And the 240 will sit in the number one spot for the moment as Joel had problems and only mustered 10:41 at 120. At this time, I will take my no-time shootout cars. No-time shootout cars to the lanes, please. No-time shootout cars. No-time shootout cars to the lanes, please. Once again, no-time shootout cars. No-time shootout cars to the lanes, please. So our next pair of stick shift shootout cars. One from Florida, one from North Carolina, one import, one domestic. The import is Mark Hodkowick out of Naples, Florida, 1994 model Civic. That's the left side of the racetrack. And the guy who is facing your current stick shift record holder, the grub one. The 1997 model Camaro out of Pilot Mountain, North Carolina. This is Jonathan Atkins. 661. The current record holder for all stick shift applications, ladies and gentlemen, with an H-Matter. He did it at FL2K last year. Can Jonathan deliver a 6-second pass right off the bat to lead us in qualifying here at the reunion? Tire spin there, and Atkins very, very slow to the 60-foot mark, is having trouble. And it looks as if Mark also having issues, as neither one of them made a test ride. So they will coast to 15-second passes in each lane. So neither one of them delivering on what they would probably like to have. And John Rogers will continue to hang on to the number one qualifying spot for the moment. Once again, I need my no-time shootout. No-time shootout cars to lanes 13 and 14, please. No-time shootout. No-time shootout. To lanes 13 and 14, please. No-time shootout. No-time shootout. Lanes 13 and 14, please.
N1. Yeah, N1, 5 gallon. N2. You need to pay card or? Yeah. 70 a pail.
So once again, another import versus domestic battle coming up here, as Kyle Wade will run Ryan Pedersen. Pedersen out of Wisconsin, the 2007 model Corvette on the left side of the racetrack. 427 cubic inches of LS power plant with a little bit of boost on that. He's left side of the racetrack. Kyle Wade out of the Boosted Boys. Right hand side, Zephyr, Florida. Drive line. Car has been deep in the sevens so far. And he will stage up the 91 Toyota on the right hand side. The starting line, and Kyle on a good pass right side of the racetrack to the top end. 776 at 185 for Kyle Wade. A 912 at 129 for the Corvette. Not a bad lick after having some trouble off the 60-foot. It'll move him into the number 3 spot. Kyle Wade now number 2 behind John Rogers. So once again, I'm looking for no time shootout. No time shootout. Lanes 13 and 14, please. No time shootout. No time shootout. Lanes 13 and 14, please. As we continue here in the stick shift class, brought to us by Brian Crowler and the runbc.com, the sponsor of the class. Jose Sanchez out of Kissimmee, Florida, the 1982 model Toyota Starlet, right side. Seen him make a couple test passes with the car already. Again, the number he needs to be, 755. That is what he needs to run better than to get the number 1 qualifying position. Big wheel stand as he grabs second gear and is continuing to go and goes for 4th and unfortunately does not find it. 861 at 114 for Jose Sanchez. He was on a good pass too, 489.6 at 149 miles an hour at the 8th mile, but went for 4th gear and didn't get it. And that will put him in the number 3 spot. Jonathan Rogers continuing to hang on to the number 1 spot. Kyle Wade, number 2. So that will wrap up our stick shift shootout, ladies and gentlemen. That'll move us into the Motion Raceworks Streetcar Shootout. Should be our biggest class, brought to us by Motion Raceworks. Again, as I mentioned earlier today, the Streetcar Shootout class, if we have 32 or more entries, we will split it into 2 fields, an A group and a B group. So we will see how many cars we get here, as we were supposedly just north of 20 on pre-registered. So I'm not sure how many we have so far. We'll see how close we get. As Wade Rich putting down some fresh traction compound. And I've been told we have a couple of grudge races coming up in the extreme front-wheel drive class, the class paying the most to win. Brought to us by Precision Turbo and Engine, the extreme front-wheel drive paying $10,000 to win, ladies and gentlemen. And we will have 2 grudge races on tap in qualifier number 1. As once again, we give the racetrack a little bit of additional prep because of the radials that we see in almost every streetcar on the streetcar shootout setup, as the radials do like a little bit more traction compound, so we do that to get ready for this class.
Good try, starter.
So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we sincerely hope that you are enjoying yourself here as we work our way through the first qualifying session here at the reunion, brought to us by TurboSmart. Again, don't settle for anything less than the best on your boosted ride. TurboSmart, the world leader in boost control technology. They have a plethora of parts to meet the grueling demands of your high-performance street and strip use. For everything from boost control products, including blow-off valves, wastegates, regulators, and a whole lot more, you can visit turbosmart.com to find a dealer near you to get hooked up on all the best from TurboSmart. And we appreciate them being the supporting and presenting sponsor of the reunion. Also, a shout-out to our class sponsors, Brian Crowler, the runbc.com. Thank you to Induction Performance, Motion Raceworks, Florida No Time Racing, Sissio Performance, who is on site here this weekend with their display and setup. O&J Performance, our index sponsor. Fuel Injector Clinic. And Precision Turbo and Engine. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's move to the streetcar shootout class. Our first start out, Chevy versus Ford, Mustang versus Corvette. Robert Remick, right side in the Corvette. Danny Coots, left side in the Mustang. And off they go. Both of them hooked up good, and the Mustang is on a ripper. 8-second pass coming up left-hand side. 8:28 at 164. A 9:31 at 145 miles an hour for Robert Remick. The 8:28 at 164.91 will put Danny Coots at the top of the list for the moment. But one of the guys that will definitely challenge for the top spot is coming up right here. Jim Braun out of Eustis, Florida, out of the Real Street Camp. A 2012 model Coyote-powered Mustang. This is a twin-turbo setup. And Jim recently adding a wing to this car, as he has said that the rear end had started to get loose and he was experiencing tire spin when he was looking at the data loggers. So the car that, other than the parachute and the wheels, had pretty much looked like a standard stock Mustang, but recently had to add the wing for a little extra downforce. Jim will face Jill Hicks in the Camaro out of Michigan right side. And getting after it early, 128 on the 60-foot, makes a move to the left, gathers it back up, and will click off a 755 at 191 miles an hour for Jim Braun, and there's more left, as Jim had to steer it away from the left side retaining wall. But a 755.9 at 191 will take Jim Braun to the top of the field as expected. Jill Hicks goes 10:15 at 136, not a bad pass. It'll put her in the number 4 spot for the moment. How about a Ford versus Chevy, Camaro versus Mustang battle next? Jonathan Antiones out of Parkland, Florida, 2018 model Camaro right side. Mike Moretti out of Vero Beach, the twin turbo Mustang left side. And Moretti gets after it. Wait a minute, tire spin as the car touched the front end back down. It'll hurt his ET a little bit. 871 at 164 for Moretti, 958 at 150 for Jonathan Antiones. So Mike Moretti's 871 will put him in the number 3 spot. John will slide into the number 5 spot, courtesy of the 958. Another Camaro versus Mustang battle will come up next. Scott Murphy and Christian Murillo. Murillo out of Vero Beach, Florida on the East Coast. 2011 model Mustang, again, turbocharged Coyote, left-hand side. 2018 model Camaro, right-hand side for Scott Murphy out of Wesley Chapel. This is a Gen 6 Camaro versus the S197 chassis Mustang, the 6.2-liter LT power plant, right side. Murillo gets it up on boost and bumps it in, and off he goes. And Murillo, 778 at 171 for Murillo, and that will move Murillo into the number 2 qualifying spot. Scott Murphy goes 920 at 155. A little bit of a hesitation there out of the Camaro after a touchback down off the starting line, and now Scott Murphy slides into the number 5 spot, the quickest 9-second car. Murillo goes to number 2. So some cars that were having some trouble during test sessions now starting to find their groove. As we work our way into the first qualifying session. So our next pair, Mustang versus Supra. Right-hand side is Zach Walton out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 1993 model Supra, right side of the racetrack. Chris DeRosa out of Newport Richey, Florida, will stage up left-hand side in the S550 chassis 2017 Mustang. Both of them going to build some boost and get them bumped into the beams. They are ready. Mustang off first. Walton a little slow off the starting line, but now getting after it. Mustang still in front, top end says. 9:55 142 at 143 for Chris DeRosa. That'll put him there first over the 974, 146 for Zach Walton. Both of them on 9-second hits. And both of them will get into the middle of the field. Chris DeRosa's number 7 spot. That'll bring up a very sexy looking Grand National left-hand side of the racetrack, and Fat Betty, the S2000 Honda. The Grand National out of Blacklist Performance left-hand side for Lou Accioppetti out of Bradenton, Florida. 1985 model Buick, 468 cubic inches of, that could possibly be a big block Chevy. It could be a very, very big small block. I'm not sure exactly, as it does not say anything except the cubic inches. But still a very looking car indeed, left-hand side. Right-hand side is Richard Flint. The 2000 model Honda S2000 out of Bradenton. The LS swap with the single turbo. That'll be okay there from the Buick, but Richard Flint hooked up and gone. 760 at 186 miles an hour for Richard Flint. That will move him all the way up to the number 2 qualifying spot behind Jim Rod's 755 at 833 at 158 for Lou. Gets him into the number 5 spot. And we'll bring up our next pair. Attention in the bids, attention in the bids. Final call for no time shootout. Final call, no time shootout to the lanes 13 and 14. If you're not there, you're about to be late. First call for extreme front wheel drive. First call, extreme front wheel drive. I need you now, please. First call, extreme front wheel drive. Tony Ernst and Gary Muter. Tony Ernst in the Audi. Gary Muter in the Shelby GT500. Gary got the initial hit, and the Audi comes around him. 831 at 177, 865 at 161 for Gary Muter, left-hand side of the Shelby. Tony goes to the number 5 qualifying spot. Gary now number 7. Our next pair of cars getting backed up after their burnouts. Chris Genevieve out of Harleysville, Pennsylvania, 1994 model Super, right side of the racetrack. Built and tuned by Induction Performance, right-hand side of the racetrack. Looks like Adriana Noonan out staging him in front, which means a personal best time is probably about to happen. Colin Entony out of Tampa, Florida, the Lexus left-hand side. Once again, my final call for no time shootout. Final call, no time shootout. I need you now. Final call, no time shootout. They're staged and ready. And off we go. Toyota gets the early jump. The Lexus already around him, left-hand side, going to get there first. 785 at 175, 829 at 164 for Chris and the Supra. The 785 are full, the 7-second pass of the day. So Colin will go to the number 4 spot. Chris, our second quickest 8-second pass, slides into the number 6 spot. Our next pair of cars to the starting line, Kevin Stowe and Adam Warnke. Warnke out of Northport, Florida, 2011 model Mustang, the year they introduced the Coyote. That's the green car on the right side of the racetrack. And we'll face off against Kevin Stowe, the Sissio Performance built 2017 GTR, left side of the racetrack. Stowe pulling double duty between the DCT class as well as the Streetcar class. The Mustang having problems, the GTR hooked up good 130, 60 foot. This will also be a 7-second pass. 763 at 188.91 miles an hour for Kevin Stowe, and Kevin will now take control of the number 2 qualifying spot. A 15:27 at a coasting 67 miles an hour for Adam will put him in the number 18 spot. And actually, I misspoke. Kevin Stowe now number 3 is R.C. Flynn. Richard Flynn's car actually just a couple hundredths quicker. So Jim Braun, number 1 at 7:55. Richard Flynn, number 2 at 7:60. And Kevin Stowe, number 3 at 7:63. That will bring up our final car for qualifier number 1 here in Streetcar Shootout. This is Matt Lanphier. Lanphier in the sexy time. Turtle, Mazda Miata. This is a 5.3 liter LS swap with a big single turbo on it. He has recently done some upgrades to this car, so I'm not sure where he's got it tuned up yet. Let's see how he does right here. 126 on the 60-foot. Lanphier letting it roll. Top end says 798 at 170. That is only the 3rd time that Matt Lanphier has run in the 7s. The first time at Orlando earlier this year, the second time at Texas 2K, and now his 3rd different racetrack. He had not been in the 7s before this year. The best run he had ever made was an 822. Tracks. That will move him into the number 6 qualifying spot. So ladies and gentlemen, your first session of Streetcar Shootout. 6 cars in the 7s, being led by Jim Braun, 7:55. Richard Flint, number 2 at 7:60. Kevin Stowe, number 3 at 7:63. And the quickest 8-second car, Danny Coots with an 8:28. He was our first pair out. Now sits in the number 7 spot. Our quickest 9-second car is Scott Murphy in the number 13 spot. And a total of 20 cars made a hit first round and recorded a time. So we will do some racetrack prep to get ready for No Time Shootout. No Time Shootout, your absolutely last and final call. If you're not in the lanes, you're now late. No Time Shootout, No Time Shootout. If you're not in the lanes, you're now officially late. Extreme front wheel drive, extreme front wheel drive, I need you now, please. Extreme front wheel drive, extreme front wheel drive, I need you now, please, for your first qualifier. As we have just wrapped up Streetcar Shootout, brought to our friends at Motion Raceworks. And we appreciate Doug Cook and his great staff at Motion Raceworks. Ironically, yesterday marked the very day that Doug Cook stepped away from his corporate job and decided to start Motion Raceworks in 2015 in a 2-car garage. Now, they have moved the business 4 times since then. And for a whole lot of stuff that is made in the USA and tested and proven by enthusiasts, if you want to find out more about the great company, check out motionraceworks.com. to find out more about all the great products that they offer, all the great services. They can help you build entire full systems. They are drag and drive experts, as they have done several times, and let their expertise help you in your next build. Motion Raceworks, thank them so much for being part of the Streetcar Shootout class. So ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of track prep going to happen here before we go to No Time Shootout, followed by extreme front wheel drive. And that will wrap up our first session of qualifying.
Luis Martinez and Chris Brett's coming up in our first pair of the No Time Shootout class. Once again brought to us by Florida No Time. Chris Brett's out of Spring Hill, Florida, the 2000 model Camaro, known as Turbo B. A very, very well-known car around the South. Will face off with the beautiful 1966 model Chevy 2 Nova. Yeah, they actually called them Chevy 2s as well as Novas. Up until 1969, and that's when they dropped the Chevy 2 moniker and just called them Novas. A little bit of trivia for you in case you need something to talk about at your next party. Luis Martinez out of Bel Air, Maryland. 388 cubic inches, making me think it is an LS combination. I believe Chris Brett's is still using big block twin turbo power. So Luis Martinez left side, Chris Brett's right side. Now, the boards are dashed, which means we won't see any information, and I will have no information to give you on the run. This is merely for their entertainment to get them the tune-up data that they need. They will chip draw for first round and pair each other randomly. Both cars off the starting line good. The Nova out in front. And Luis will get to the finish line first, as Chris looks like he played the starting line a little bit safe to make sure he can go A to B. Not a bad call. Just wants to make sure that he has the tune-up in it that he can get there with. Once again, extreme front-wheel drive, extreme front-wheel drive. I need you now, please. Extreme front-wheel drive. Extreme front-wheel drive. I need you now, please. As I mentioned earlier, Chris Brett's well known around the No Time game. Here's a couple more gentlemen who also are becoming very well known, or one of them that is very well known. Troy Perez Jr., who pretty much has spent his entire life at the racetrack. His father, Troy Perez Sr., doing everything from index and class racing, also No Time racing. So Troy Perez Jr. now the main guy at Innovative Racecraft, wheeling the 2013 Corvette left-hand side, the nitrous-fed hot rod. He will face Dick Deason. Deason out of the Alachua, Gainesville area. The 1963 Dart, he calls the lawn dart right side of the racetrack. Out of KSR, the small block LS power plant with a big single turbo on board. And Troy spins the tires and the lawn dart. A to B, did a nice little wheel stand there and got close to the center line, but hauled it in. And Dick Deason will have some data for Q2. Troy Perez Jr. came off the starting line and made it about 10 feet before the tires said no more. Our next pair to the starting line, Kenny Leal, out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, off the East Coast. 1995 model 240 SX with a 2JZ underneath the hood. He'll stage up right-hand side of the racetrack. Left-hand side is Chris Dielman, out of Ocala, Florida. He details fire trucks for a living and also has his own soap line. The 1968 model Camaro called the Raven. This car used to belong to his father and was bracket raced for quite a good amount of time, and then they lost track of the car and then located it. Chris changed it from a heads-up big block nitrous car into a no-time grudge car. 5.3-liter LS power plant with a big single turbo on board. So he's left side, Kenny Leal right side. Both of them sitting there waiting, as neither one of them want to get on the boost early. And they continue to sit. And Chris says, I'll roll in. Now the right side
seconds to get there. And Chris leaves second, but will still get there first. After spinning the tires on the first hit, Dillman has 180-degreed it, now made 2 solid hits down the left-hand side of the racetrack. Kenny Leal also not making a bad shot right-hand side, but Dillman, 2 good shots out of the last 3 runs he's made. At this time, I will take, for qualifier number 2, my 1050 index and 950 index. So once again, attention in the pits, attention in the pits. I will take 1050 index lanes 1 and 2, 1050 index for qualifier number 2, lanes 1 and 2, 950 index lanes 3 and 4, please. 950 index lanes 3 and 4, please. Modified for qualifier number 2, that will put you on standby. Modified for qualifier number 2, that'll put you on standby. I will call you next. Once again, I need my 1050 index cars to lanes 1 and 2, and my 950 index cars to lanes 3 and 4 for qualifier number 2, please, at this time. Tyler Simmons and Albert Davica. Davica out of Miami, Florida, the 1993 model Ford Mustang. With the 2JZ aboard, right-hand side. Left side, out of Clearwater, Florida, Tyler Simmons, the traditional small block Ford-powered Mustang. They still actually do that. They don't swap them all. And after Kaiserman has claimed almost every run during time runs, Tyler Simmons made the right adjustments and goes A to B, left side of the racetrack with no problems at all. As both Fox bodies made it down good. Once again, my absolute last and final call for extreme front-wheel drive. My absolute last and final call for extreme front-wheel drive to the lanes at this time, please. Last and final call for extreme front-wheel drive. Final pair at no time. Oh, they're cleaning up the start. So left-hand side is Jose Rodriguez Jr. out of Arcadia, Florida. 1992 model Nissan 240. So some cleanup work being done on the right-hand side of the racetrack. As Jose did the burnout, and we'll move it back into the water box and shut it off as we are on hold currently to do some cleanup work on the right-hand side of the racetrack. Hopefully not take more than a minute or two. But ladies and gentlemen, this is our final pair of the No Time Shootout class brought to us by Florida No Time. And again, that will move us into the extreme front-wheel drive class. Again, I have called my index class cars back for qualifier number 2. I need 1050 to lanes 1 and 2, please. I need 950 to lanes 3 and 4. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. I need 950 to lanes 3 and 4. I need 1050 to lanes 1 and 2 for qualifier number 2, please, at this time. All right, starting line is good. We're giving the signal to fire up. So we're going to go back to racing action, ladies and gentlemen.
the starting line as they back up from the burnouts. Jose Rodriguez Jr. left side of the Nissan. Right-hand side, the twin-turbo Fox body. I don't have any information on this driver as of yet, as we are waiting on their tech car. So my third call for index cars for qualifier number 2, 1050 index, 1050 index in each of the lanes 1 and 2, please. 1050 index, 1050 index in each of the lanes 1 and 2, please. I need 950 index, 950 index to lanes 3 and 4, please. 950 index, 950 index, lanes 3 and 4, please.
Well, how many extra one drives do you have? I can only see like 4 we're stretching around the back.
So you still want me to wait a few minutes, Gab, before I go? They get it boosted up and ready. Mustang gets bumped in. We're ready to go. Here comes the green light. And both cars spin the tires off the starting line. Both of them pedal it. And we'll roll through the finish line at half track side by side. But unfortunately, both of them having problems. Left-hand side tossing what appears to be either a fuel pump belt or a vacuum belt. And that will wrap up our no-time shootout class, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, index class cars, I need you back to the lanes, please. 1050 index, lanes 1 and 2, please. 1050 index, lanes 1 and 2, please. 950 index, lanes 3 and 4. So that will bring us to the Extreme front-wheel drive. Brought to us by Precision Turbo and Engine, the richest class of all of them here this weekend. $10,000 to win. So it should be a pair between Rayan Rubio and Ozzy Jimenez. Rayan having trouble in the 92 Civic out of Kissimmee left-hand side, so Ozzy will get a single shot here to start us in the Precision Turbo and Engine Extreme front-wheel drive class. So the 94 Civic based out of St. Cloud, Florida will get a single pass here. Right-hand side of the racetrack. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 grudge races coming up here in Q1. In just a minute. At this time, I will take modified to the lanes, please. Modified. I will take you to the lanes, please. Modified for qualifier number 2. I will take you to the lanes, please. So Ozzy having some trouble. We'll click off the timers at 1084, just 95 miles an hour. He does complete the pass, and we'll get him on the qualifying sheet for the moment in the number 1 spot. Place your bets on how many cars it takes before that gets eclipsed. So once again, at this time, attention in the pit.
Modified.
For round number 2 of qualifying, modified, lanes 11 and 12. For round number 2 of qualifying, please, modified. For round number 2 of qualifying on each of the lanes 11 and 12 at this time, please. A pair of Civics will come up next. Our next pair, Ray Rios, left-hand side, out of Perth Amboy, New Jersey. Yeah, just around the corner. 1995 model Civic, that is the black car with the carbon door. right-hand side of the racetrack. My final call for index. Final call for index at each of the lanes now. Final call for index. Final call index at each now. 1050 index lanes 1 and 2, 950 index lanes 3 and 4. Get them boosted up and get them in the beams. We're ready. Left side first. Right side follows. Left side has trouble. Jason Bella. A good run so far. Right-hand side goes 806 at 163 miles an hour for Jason Bella. As the car slowed at the top end, he went 537 at 148 miles an hour to the 8th mile. So the car had 7-second capability, but the car slowed at the top end. But Ray Reyes has even more trouble and goes 1354 at just 82 miles an hour. Again, it'll get him on the qualifying sheet, but not where he wants to be. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. Tara Mills, I need you to the gate, please. Tara Mills. Tara Mills, I need you to the gate at this time, please. Again, my final call for index classes. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. My final call for index classes. 1050 index lanes 1 and 2, 950 index lanes 3 and 4, please. Our next pair of Hondas out of the burnout boxes and getting prepared. Carlos Olivio and Dennis Navarez. Both of these cars Florida-based hot rods, the Faster Motorsports, an Apex Turbo and Fuel Tech ride. Left-hand side of the racetrack for Carlos Olivio out of St. Cloud, Florida. The Camo Honda. Left-hand side of the racetrack. Right-hand side, the fourth sponsor, Honda, out of Tampa for Dennis Navarez. The all-black car, right side of the racetrack. So again, current low qualifier is 806 with a 3. That is what needs to be beat. At this time, again, I will take modified. Modified for qualifier number 2, lanes 11 and 12, please. Modified. Modified. Lanes 11 and 12 for your second qualifier now. Modified. Modified. I need you now. They're staged and ready. Here we go. Off the starting line. Better time so far. Right side. Olivio has problems. Navarro's to the finish line. 799 with a 7 at 182.85. That is your new number 1 qualifier. 541 at 144 to the half track. 799.7 at 182.85 miles an hour for Dennis Navarez, and that will take him to the number 1 qualifying spot. Carlos has problems and goes to a 13:55. Again, it will get him on the qualifying sheet, but not where he wants to be. So currently, 5 cars on the qualifying sheet. The number 6 car having problems and getting pushed out of the water box. So we are on hold here for just a minute while we go down to check something out on the racetrack. And then our next 2 will come up. As it looks like some parts and pieces came off of Navarez's car there. Could have just been some small chunks of rubber, but we don't want to leave anything to chance. So we're going to take care of those right now. Again, I got my index class cars starting to fall in line. Thank you so much, but it looks like I'm missing several of my 1050 cars. So once again, 1050 index, 1050 index lanes 1 and 2, please. 1050 index. 1050 index lanes 1 and 2, please. As we make sure the right-hand side is clean and clear before we go to our next pair. Once again, my modified cars, lanes 11 and 12 for your second qualifier, please. Modified. Lanes 11 and 12 for your second qualifying session, please.
As once again, we make sure that everything is good to go before we send our next pair. Safety a priority here at Bradenton Motorsports Park, so we are checking that out. Reports of stuff coming off the car as they went down the right-hand side. So we are double checking that before we send our next pair. All right, so the all clear has been given. And here comes the first of our 2 grudge races of the round, ladies and gentlemen. The sign to fire them up has been given. So, ladies and gentlemen, your first of 2 grudge races this round for $2,000 on one run. Victor Alvarez, the owner of Bradenton Motorsports Park and co-owner of Induction Performance, left side, and Andrew Fernandez, right-hand side. Victor taking over the reins of this 95 Civic, a very storied precision turbo, turbosmart, fuel injector clinic, and induction performance. Represented on the 95 Civic left side, the 95 Civic right side of Andrew Fernandez. $2,000 going to the winner of this matchup. Who will it be? We're set. Better light goes to Andrew. Victor trying to get around him. To the finish line they go, and Victor will get the win of the $2,000 money. $792 at 186 to get around the whole shot aided. 854 at a slowing 140 miles an hour for Andrew Fernandez. Now Andrew made him work for it. He was better on the reaction time by 0.04 of a second, and Victor had gotten around him by the 330 mark. To the 8th mile they went, and they were still within a car length of each other. And then Victor started to pour on the applesauce. Andrew let out of the gas early. Victor gets the win, and the 792 will move him to the number 1 qualifying spot. Final call for index cars, qualifier number 2. Final call, index cars. Qualifier number 2 to the lanes, please. 1050 index to lanes 1 and 2. 950 index lanes 3 and 4, please. My final call for modified cars. Final call, modified cars. Lanes 11 and 12 for your second qualifying session, please. Here is your second grudge race of the round, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Braden and Labib Sad. For $500 in addition on top of this one. Robert, left side, out of Lutz, Florida, 96 Civic, the fuel injector clinic back drive, the green and black car. Labib out of Bradenton, the 93 Civic out of Junkie Racing. $500 additional on top of this qualifying run. Robert goes in and lights them both. We are ready. Whole shot goes left side for Robert. And Robert has problems and slows. Sound will get the easy win, 869 at 155. Robert with a huge hole shot. Oh. And then immediately had problems. So the $500 on the bragging rights will go right-hand side. And ladies and gentlemen,
that will officially wrap us up
for the first qualifying session of all classes. Oh, never mind. I spoke too soon. I thought we were done. See, Long, you need to communicate me that information. My fault. I can't see from where I'm sitting. So my apologies. So we will have a couple more coming up here in Extreme Front Wheel Drive. So we are not done just yet. Looks like one more. So it looks like we may have just one more. My index class cars have shown up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. JJ Autoworks backing the ride here of Juan Figueroa out of League City, Texas. The 1999 model Civic will stage up for a single pass left side. The number to beat, 792 with an 8. That is low qualifier at the moment. Can Juan get it done here? He rolls in and lights the stage bulb. Let's go. Looking solid so far to the finish line. 8:06 at 189 for Juan. A good run, a lot of speed. Moves him into the
Three qualifying spots.
Bellows ET to the 1,000th. Both Juan and Jason both running 8:06 with a 3. The top speed of Juan will move him into the number 3 spot. So ladies and gentlemen, 2 cars in the 7s in Extreme Front Wheel Drive. Victor Alvarez will lay claim to the top qualifying spot at 792.8. Followed by Dennis Navarez at 799.7. Juan Figueroa at number 3. Jason Bello number 4. And Andrew Fernandez will round out the top half of the field with an 8:54.0. That will officially wrap us up for qualifier number 1 here at the reunion, brought to us by TurboSmart. So we will rinse and repeat. Bring everybody back for one more shot today for qualifier number 2. And we will get things started with the index classes. So a little bit of starting line work by Wade Rich and the crew. As soon as we get the all clear, we will send index down. Again, I have called modified. Modified to lanes 11 and 12, please. Modified. Modified. Lanes 11 and 12, please. Modified. Modified. Your final call, lanes 11 and 12, please.
Lyle, you want me to call Brawler versus 3/4, I'm guessing, considering index shouldn't take that long?
At this time, I will now take Brawlers versus 3/4. Brawlers versus Tres Quattro. Lanes 13 and 14, please. Brawlers versus 3/4. Brawlers versus Tres Quattro. Lanes 13 and 14 for qualifier number 2, please. Once again, if you do not show up with your class for your qualifying session, you will miss that round. So we need your assistance to please come when we call you. So my 1050 index and 950 index class in the lanes, ready to go. And then we will move to modify. And it looks like I have 3 of my current 6 modified cars in the lanes. Let's say
They're around the turn. I don't see them, but you need to get there quickly.
if you are not already on your way for modified, if you plan to make Q2, I need you now. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. I need Brawlers versus 3/4, lanes 13 and 14. Brawlers versus Tres Quattro, lanes 13 and 14 at this time, please. A little bit of track prep work being done. And right back into action. Our first hurrah in the 1050 index class, John Enfield and Christian Elsnick. Elsnick out of Bradenton, the BMW, left side of the racetrack. Currently our number 8 qualifier with 11:21. John Enfield, your number 1 qualifier, right side of the racetrack, the 73 Chevy Nova out of Dade City. 10:55 is his test time. He'd obviously like to lop a couple hundreds off of it and get a little bit closer to that 1050 index. Big wheel stand there for John as he lets go in
front. He will work his way towards the finish line. And the scoreboard says 10:66 at 1:17. He slows by almost a tenth of a second. 10:60 at 1:32 for Christian is a big improvement. That will move him up the ladder substantially in the BMW. Austin Stevens and Faith Frost next. Faith breaking out by a hundredth on her first pass, going 10:49.0, so she's at the bottom of the field right now. One spot above her is Austin Stevens, who had problems with the 67 American Rambler last run. So the St. Petersburg-based drive left side looking to make amends and get a good run. Faith Frost also tries to slow down by just a hundredth of a second. Both of them off the starting limit in 4,000ths of ejections, so they're good on reaction times. Looking for that magic 10:50 number to the finish line they go. And Faith Frost goes. Frost and Stevens, your new number 1 and number 2 qualifiers right there, ladies and gentlemen, within 3,000ths of a second of each other. Faith Frost, 10:53.3 for the number 1 qualifying spot, 10:53.6 for the number 2 qualifying spot for Austin Stevens. Here comes our next two cars, Ryan Norton and Andy. That's all we have. That's all that's on his deck card. The Toyota right-hand side, the right-hand driver out of St. Petersburg, Florida, 1987 model Supra. He's currently your number 11 qualifier. Left-hand side, your number 5 qualifier, Ryan Norton, 10:57 with the S10 pickup truck, LS-powered pickup truck. And Ryan Norton, a double 09. Just 9,000ths of a second away from a perfect reaction time. Looking for 10:50 and goes 10:52.6 to take the number 1 qualifying spot. We just reset it by 2 competitors. Now Ryan Norton steps up and snatches it away. 10:52.6 and 1:27 will get Ryan Norton to the top of the spot with his S10. 12:87 and 1:10 for Andy is an improvement, but will still get him towards the bottom half of the field. Not where he wants to be. He needs something that starts with a 10. So now 5 cars qualified within 600ths of a second of the 10:50 index. Here comes our next two. Kenny Rosa and Milano Garcia. Garcia, the colorful 98 Civic out of Kissimmee right-hand side. We'll stage up here against the 97 Tacoma out of Brooksville for Kenny Rosa left side. Rosa having traction troubles last side. Let's see if he fixes it then. The starting line a little bit slow, and now Kenny got it underway. Milano in the Civic. Out in front right-hand side, and we'll go 11:53 at 1:27. He slows by almost 1 full second. 13:01 and 1:10 for Kenny Rosa. It's an improvement over his first pass, but still not where he wants to be. Again, to be competitive in this class, you need something that starts with a 10. Once again, I need modified. Modified lanes 11 and 12, please. Modified. Modified lanes 11 and 12, please. I need Brawlers versus 3/4 to lanes 11, lanes 13 and 14, please. Brawler versus 3/4 lanes 13 and 14, please. Brawler versus Tres Cuatro lanes 13 and 14 at this time. Qualifier number 2. Jose Gonzalez out of Pennsylvania next, right side. The red Civic. Qualified number 7, 10:63 his best time. Number 9 qualifier left side 10:64 for Gabriel Feliciano out of Kissimmee in blue Civic. They're ready. Left side drops the hammer and finds nothing. Jose Gonzalez on a single pass right side. Will go down and go 10:67 within 300ths of his first pass, but no improvement. He'll stay in the number 7 spot for now. Unfortunately for Gabriel, had trouble, so he is going backward. Hopefully something that they can easily fix and get back for qualifier number 3 first thing tomorrow morning. That'll bring up our next cars, Johnny Nitro and Emmanuel Castillo.
Actually, right-hand side is a late entry, so I have a feeling this is not Emmanuel Castillo. But Johnny Nitro, out of the Janos Performance Shop out of Kissimmee left side, 1995 model Civic, that's the red car. Currently a number 10 qualifier. And will face the unknown driver right-hand side of the racetrack. Left side on a good pass so far. Looking for 1050 and goes
10:37 and 1:15, about 13.
like it too fast. He let out of the gas early to try to slow it down, and still too quick. Right side goes 1477 at 90 miles an hour, having trouble on the run. Our next up, Manuel Aponte, the 2018 model Audi out of Newport Richie, right side of the racetrack. And Mel Hernandez. Hernandez making the trip out of Tampa. The Mustang GT convertible. Once again, I need Brawler versus 3/4. Brawler versus 3/4 lanes 13 to 14, please. Brawler versus Tres Quattro. Brawler versus Tres Quattro lanes 13 and 14, please. Mel Hernandez left side, the Mustang, who did not make Q1, so he will get on the sheet here if he gets the green light. We'll race Manuel Aponte. Aponte right side out of Newport Richie in the Audi. Currently our number 8 qualifier at 1064. This will be your final pair of 1050 cars brought to us by O&J Performance. The Audi out in front right-hand side will lead the Mustang to the finish line. From his 1064 for Manuel, 11:17 at 124, not a bad first lick for the Mustang. And that will wrap up our 1050 class. That'll bring up our 950 class. We'll speed it up one full second. Robert Riggs and Mike Van Zyl will start it. Van Zyl, if it hooks racing. Yeah, that's what he calls it. 2000 to Florida. And he will face Robert Riggs, your number 1 qualifier with a 955 right-hand side. Once again, modified and Brawler versus 3/4 in each to the lanes, please. Modified and Brawler versus 3/4 in each now, please. 950. Index with a 2 for the Nova driver. That will solidify his number 1 qualifying spot. Michael Van Zyl goes 957 at 136. That's an improvement from what he ran first round. But how about Robert Riggs, 9.502? So now 950 with a 0 to take over the number 1 qualifying spot, and that will not be easy. Ray Jerry's and Javier Batista. Batista in the Acura left-hand side. Ray Jerry's the big block Nova, right-hand side of the racetrack. Jerry's the better reaction time in the Nova. The Acura starting to pull even. Top end says 950 with an 8 for Ray Juries. That'll move him to the number 2 qualifying spot. 948 with a 1 and 147 is 19 thousandths of a second too quick for Javier. The index was just a little bit too fast. Ray Juries goes 950 with an 8 to go to the number 2 qualifying spot. How about Trent Thomas and Jim McMillan next? Thomas and Bradenton. He's tracking against Jim McMillan, former class winner here at Port Charlotte, Florida-based 89 Buick Regal, the colorful Regal, right side of the racetrack. Better reaction time here. Both of them looking for that magical 950 index number and 955 with a 5 for Trent Thomas. A slight improvement on his previous best. It'll move him out of the number 3 qualifying spot. 980 at 100. So it'll move him up in the ladder somewhat. As a lot of drivers getting closer and closer to that 950 index. Here comes our next two. Eagle, Michigan, right side of the racetrack. The LT1 power plant car, currently 11:10, her best qualifying spot. She'll stage up against Christopher Hart's out of Orlando. Crewman once again just giving him the push to lead first, and the better reaction time goes to Christopher. Christopher to that top end looking for 950. Tense. 1171 and 126. Jill Hicks also slowing from her previous best pass. So neither driver improves.
Here on modified Brawlers. Do you want me to call the next one or do you want to wait? So yeah, call the next one.
Attention to the bits, attention to the bits. I need all-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT. Lanes 11 and 12. Angelo Rivera and Carlos Perez going down the racetrack. Perez in the Honda goes 966, improving on the 996 from previous. He's 3/10 better. And Rivera will improve as well. A good pass for both drivers. Pierce Chevrolet products will come up next. The Corvette left side.
The 6-inch Camaro right side.
Garcia Jr. out of Plant City, Florida, 2009 model Corvette. This is the C6 model Corvette. The black car, the stick shift car. Left side of the racetrack. 427 cubic inches of ingots. Mallory in the Naples, Florida-based quiet 2018 Camaro. Currently a little too fast for the index, 927. And Mallory is looking for something on the positive side of 950. The Corvette continuing down. Mallory to the finish line, looking for 950. Gets on the brakes and goes 933. Under by 16. Edwin Garcia rolls through at 1276 at a coasting 84 miles an hour after having problems with the Corvette. Import versus domestic in our next battle. Luis Correa and Omar left side. Currently your number 9 qualifier at 972. Luis Correa in the 1998 Model S10 pickup truck with the hood removed so you can see all. And once again he blows through the light, so he will not get it. Will get a time. Omar to the finish line, left-hand side, and goes 941 at 130. So Omar improves from the 972, but improves too much. So the 941 will not move him up on the ladder. He will stay.
Today is number 9 qualifying spot where he was from before the run. Lewis, unfortunately, once again, when getting on the ball box,
and will not register a time, so that will keep him off the ladder. He has one more chance tomorrow. Once again, my modified car should be in lanes 11 and 12. Brawlers versus Tres Quattro should be in lanes 13 and 14. I now need all-wheel drive versus DCT. All-wheel drive versus DCT to the lanes.
all-wheel drive versus DCT.
Drive versus DCT to the lanes, please.
as well as tomorrow are being broadcast live streamed on YouTube TV. So,
Both live and on record. Don't check out YouTube TV on YouTube. That is LE2
TV. We appreciate Lou and all the hard work he does to come out here in Bradenton.
every single event that we do.
Here in Bradenton Motorsports Park, we appreciate your hard work. Thank you, Lou.
all of them. And we throw in a time. Here we go. Qualifier number 2 of the heads-up competition. We are into our modified read. Omar Gomez. Nissan left-hand side of the racetrack. Side of the racetrack, the Mazda RX-8 657 at
213 miles an hour. One number 1 spot. Better be prepared to run faster.
16 with a 1.
That's how it is right now.
Larry Ramnick out of Area 50. Fuel Tech, Drag International, and Glow.
And right now it looks like he may have trouble left side of the racetrack. We're trying to figure out what is going on.
And
they close the doors and they are rolling for forward.
booming 195. And that'll insert him into the qualifying.
In number 3 spot.
Gomez does not.
Rodriguez with an 854 pass. So he'll stay in number
2 slot. shift shootout. It's time for it. That will take you to the lane. Side of the race. Qualifier set. Left side. For Carla. Number one qualifier. 50 foot. And miles an hour. 131. Qualifying spot. 6 cars is in the 6-second race.
That will wrap up our modified category. Again, I think you should do that car.
Shootout cars in each down.
Stick shift shootout car.
Stick shift shootout car.
Down, please. Stick shift shootout car. Stick shift shootout car. Down, please.
Fluid at the top end of the double check that.
We're going to be down there for just a minute.
End of the racetrack. As soon as we get the all clear, we will go right back.
take over the six shift. Fire number 2. Lane 13. A pair of Starlet. Puerto Rico. Race for left side in the orange red. 1 Toyota Starlet. Currently qualifying sheet and hopes to get there with this. Carlos De Leon came in your fire on this session. Now the 670 with a 7 miles an hour. Only good enough for the number 2 spot. Better than 661. Side to the finish line. The scoreboard 665 right side. Left side, side by side. Passes in a pair of Starlets. 665 will keep number 2 spot. New top 213.47. 76.6 gets almost 3 spot by 1 second over Raphael's 6. 7. So now cars, 5 cars field in the 6-second round. Gentlemen, this is becoming a very field in the 3/4. That will bring up Ryan out of this next. 1972 model Nissan. Currently your number 9 qualifier with a troubled 11 first pass. To this point, everybody has recovered well and 5 in the 6s. 3 cars in the 7s. Right, get out of the double digits and to the singles. To move, body is in. Run quicker than 7-7. Can he do it right here in the little Nissan? Finish the run 10-14 miles an hour, 119.60, but you heard him pedal the car 60-foot mark, and he started to lose some valuable time. So when third, may have seen something like and decided to get out of it and save the. He has one more qualifying run. That will officially wrap us 3/4. All-wheel drive versus DT. And Tony Ernest. Neither driver currently. Tony bumped out of the session. Osier Torres right out of the water box on the first night, having a very quick time during test and tune. CR looks to make a statement as performance modified. Audi R8 right-hand side of the race. So 2 cars on the outside. Get in. Osier continues to have trouble. Tony will get there first. 7.973. Osier, you heard it, see it popping in back. Tried to go down the racetrack and go 920 at 124. It'll put on the ladder. Tony Urso is all. In a to the top end. 7 at 1 for the GTR, and that will Bueller on 862 at 172. 2/10 for Kevin Stubb. Bueller rips Daniel Rodriguez's and bumps him to the number 2 qualifier. 753 1 at 1. And Bueller's GTR at the top spot. Daniel Rodriguez, the Civic, was the number 1 qualifier. Now 2 in the all-wheel drive Civic. Here we'll face Omar Sanchez. Winter Park, Florida, 2017 on the right side of the racetrack. Yes, 190 miles an hour for 7 to round pass. Number 1 spot back. It's going to be close. It says 7:59. Stays very consistent, but with that, 8:19.
179 for Omar Sanchez. A good run from the Audi, and that will put him on the ladder in the number 4 spot. Here comes the number 6 qualifier, Alfredo Morales. Morales out of Tamarack, Florida, 2000 model Honda Civic all-wheel drive. 863 at 140. shootout class will come up next. Shootout class being Brawlers.
Jonathan Atkins, the
215 miles an hour for Joe Green, $203 an hour for 7 cars. Turn 7 between 727 and 798.
I don't know, I gotta see your partner side of that.
Here comes your number 7 qualifier. Madland Rear. Now, winner car
Florida 19.
Miles Miata that he likes to call the turbo. Single turbo cars, Alex swap. 798 and 170 on the first qualifier. Everything fixed in the room.
Once again, 7 cars in the 7s.
In the 8. And 20 car field thus far. great there for him. Subaru has delivered a trio of 9 free passes to this point. Track that we are holding, not big. All right, so we have the all clear. We're going to go right back to racing action.
Checked out. Left side goes 844 to 135, 1095 and 140 for Colin. Neither driver will improve. Tony will stay number 11 in the Audi. Colin will stay number 6. That'll bring up Cooper Baghetti. Cooper, unfortunately, having, I believe, a twisted ankle.
I believe the foot is so big that it's made it where it's trying to press the gas while not pressing the brake and it's not
So Cooper muscling his way through the
pain right hand side is the largest QR code I've ever seen in my life. Pretty much
space shuttle. Right hand side, the 2JZ powered 99 Camaro from right here in Bradenton, Florida. Will face Kevin Stowe. Kevin, the GTR left side. Currently,
Cooper did not take a shot during the first qualifying session, so he will need to get on the sheet here.
Extreme front-wheel drive. Extreme front-wheel drive. Gets back on the pedal.
The finish line is 771 and 189 flat. At 167 for Cooper, who left first on a massive hole shot, but came down hard from the front end and right up in the air.
And Cooper's 9 flat will get him into the number 16 spot. Kevin Stowe will stay in the number 4 spot. So once again, my no-time shootout question in the lanes is not you're about to be late. No-time shootout. No-time shootout in Indianapolis. No-time shootout. No-time shootout. Attention to the lanes, please. My extreme front-wheel drive. Extreme front-wheel drive. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 classes now remaining. And once again, a shout out to our friends at Motion Raceworks, the official sponsor. Cook, Andy Cook, and Brian Jack has now turned into what we know as Motion Raceworks. They are all about bringing manufacturing back to the USA, and that is why they do only made in the USA products. It helps control situations like we see in the performance part industries today. They invested in new technology, Great American Labor, and as of recent, Motion Raceworks purchased TV and brake. Everything from fuel systems to shifters, catch cans, valve covers, intakes, and a whole lot more. Visit motionraceworks.com to find out more about their huge line of product offerings. Shop for all your performance needs, from GTRs to Supers, Audi R8s, and Lamborghinis. From standard bolt-on products to full-blown race cars, Induction Performance does it all. For example, one of the cars they helped put
together
came with 2JZ motors. They helped put that car together so they can obviously tackle whatever project you have on your plate. So for everything 2JZ, tires, merchandise, performance parts, and a whole No Time Performance. They sponsor the No Time class that is coming out here momentarily. Last month. Now, Trey Perez Jr. going to the next level. They are now offering a 2-race point series. The first one being next month on May 20th. The Saturday night under the race point system with the shootout and then the Out for Blood race in October. For the No Time Racing. Clocks off, action-packed, heads
up action. Normally they're out the blood and battle phase.
the Florida No Time Invitational, the Street Style Shootout, and their free entry 28-inch tire shootout. If you want to find out more, visit them on your favorite social media. Time does this from Florida No Time. And they can help you with your next round of upgrades. For everything in the exotic car and supercar field. V10 platform and Lamborghini Huracans and Audi R8. They can do everything from bolt-ons to full builds. You can visit them at CicioPerformance.com. Find out a full selection of everything they need. Now to are done.
Out here for the union race, but also a big part of
that happens in October. Cicio is also a part of the DCT World Cup that takes place here at Bradenton Motorsports Park in February. So once again, consider
Macho, ahora va lo.
their turn. To our final application of traction compound. Once again, we appreciate each and every one of you coming out here to be part of the first day of the reunion. Then we have brought back after a 3-year hiatus. All racers, thank you so much for taking the effort to come out and join us. We appreciate each and every one of you spectators to come out and join us. Once again, day number 1 out of 2 days. Tomorrow we will be right back here to do it all over again. The difference tomorrow, we'll get the gate track at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we will aim to be on racetrack for our final round of qualifying at 11 a.m. Once the qualifying has been settled, we will get the first round of eliminations around the 1 o'clock guideline. We will send 2 down and bring 1 back, and do that until we are left with 2. And we will determine the winner of the next 3 classes. So keep in mind that we will have a total of 9 winners tomorrow. A lot of people are already getting close to personal bests out here, despite the fact that we are near 2,000 feet of elevation today for April. So that's a credit to the BMP staff, including Wade, Rich, and Sean. We appreciate all their hard work. We get all these stars coming down the BMP surface. So again, this list is going to join us again tomorrow for even more of the action. And like I said, we will crown 9 champions tomorrow right here and give away a whole bunch of money in the 2 index classes, 950 and 1050. The modified category, Brawlers versus 3/4, all-wheel drive versus DCT, fiction shootout, streetcar shootout, no-car shootout, and the extreme four-wheel drive. And once again, a big shout out to all the great companies that have helped us get there. Turbosmart, our presenting sponsor. Our class sponsors, Brian Brower, Run BC, Induction Performance, Motion Raceway, Ford and No Time Racing, Cisco Performance, O&J Performance, Fuel Injector Clinic. We appreciate each and every one of those great sponsors for being part of the reunion. Ladies and gentlemen, we have fired up the No Time class. So obviously the one class that I want to tell you a lot about, I can't tell you anything about this other than the details on the drivers and their combinations. I can't give you any times because quite simply, I can't see them. When we're in No Time class, you see dashes on the top and not knowing for sure what the cars may or may not run, because of the fact that we don't know exactly how quick or how fast they go. We've got no time again in overthink to find out whether or not they can outfit, outsmart, and outrun the vehicle next to them. Sometimes no time racing calls out. So our first pair out, Chevy versus Ford, Nova versus Mustang, Luis Martinez left-hand side, and Brandon Ferrero right-hand side. Ferrero and high vehicle on the 2004 model Mustang, the last year. He has been in a 5-body style. After that, it was the retro people in 2005. We'll take them right inside with the turbocharged Mustang. Luis Martinez had a Bel Air Pharaoh that had a little bit of ways away from home. As Ferdinand was losing a shoe right next to the door, apparently somebody needed to tell us about tightening up the laces because we just mess around with press. Luis Martinez, 66 Chevy Nova, left side of the racetrack. 388 cubic inches. I would assume based on cubic inches is an LS-based power plant. He said thanks to Garrett Motion Solutions, Mobile Lubricants, CSI Performance, Benson Motorsports, TRC, and the car is nicknamed Nicky Johnson. two solid runs after trying to get a couple of things dialed in the heat and Dick Beasley goes in and he's twice. Looking very solid and deep. Tyler was right with him almost all the way down the
As we continue on
here in the snowside shootout brought to us by Florida
racing.
We'll roll in
Order, actually, this looks like it could be a single
pass here. A little bit of cleanup going on off the starting line.
So
we want to get a little bit of cleanup work going on right inside of the racetrack.
So we shut Chris Dealman down.
We do not want to send him down the right side of the racetrack without making
Everything is A-okay.
This is going to be all clear. Set the race.
Absolute last and final call for
extreme front-wheel drive. Extreme last and final call
for extreme front-wheel drive. Right now. All right, so the all-clear signal being given.
Starting line is good. Chris Bradford fires the car.
Again, is it?
Earlier. What a story hot rod here. Out of California.
He's a detailer by trade.
Even has his own soap that he sells. 1968. In the 1990s around Maroso Motorsports Park, the car was sold. Found it, purchased it, and converted it
into a garage sale type car. Also converted from
old big block Chevy with nitrous to a
small block single turbo LS powertrain.
Dealman, who running up with this car recently at the Battle of the Bay race.
Last month.
Stands ready on the right-hand side. And got aggressive. And again, if you do not push the limitations, you do not know how far you can push it, because
the last few times the deal has made good licks down the racetrack.
if you don't try something, you don't know whether or not it will take more power.
So, feel it. That's
Good ones. And two tires.
We'll take the data into tomorrow's final
Qualifying session.
Albert, the 50th, will be our next one.
Out of Miami, Florida. 1990.
The last year the box box.
94, they changed the SN95 body style.
The popular
Than most drag racers before. Less
weight because of a less amount of black versus the hatchback.
a slightly sleeker design.
Numbers has seen the switch
From
from
small block Ford power to two
Tuesday power. A little bit of extra
the turbo. So
the right side, Albert, on a single back.
and then
Then we'll move to extreme front wheel drive. Our final class of the evening.
Alvarez gets right after the car, takes everything he threw at it, and
And a little bit of smoke at the top end of the ring.
Shit!
And the car is
loose.
And everybody, please stay where we are. All people stay where we are. Clear the starting line, please. Everybody, please stay where you are. Nobody needs to go down the racetrack except for
everybody please stay where you are.
So the smoke coming out of the car right as he crossed the finish line.
So we could have had something going on. We were waiting.
Wait to hear what the driver is okay. Okay, do something like this.
The driver is okay. That's the word we needed to hear. Driver is okay. So
The safety equipment doing its job. They're waiting for an update on whether or not
there is
there
any kind of fluid on the racetrack.
But the good news is that works out all
Immediately.
and the driver is out and okay.
gentlemen, so here's the situation.
Unfortunately, Albert lost the engine on that run.
There is
Okay, so that's the news I need. Okay, we have a question mark of what we were going to do. So,
Ladies and gentlemen,
if you are still in the safety lane during the water box,
so when Albert went through the finish line, loaded, not only do we have an excessive amount of oil, also in as the car crossed, but pieces all over. Looking at a solid hour and a half plus. So, what we are going to do is conclude our. If you have not made your yes, we will pick that up first thing tomorrow. The 2 cars in no time. Second session of front-wheel drive. We will finish your session morning before we go to Q3. So I will update you on the start. We're supposed to start at 11 a.m. If we start earlier than that, I will. Okay, so I have been told at 8 o'clock we will pick up where we left off. So that did not make a pass. Start with you, and then we will go to the final. Then we will run as scheduled all the way through, and then go to. You did not make your second qualifying run here tonight. To finish your second 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. We will do that first and then. Ladies and gentlemen, conclude our action for this evening. We are coming out here to Bradenton Motorsports Park for the reunion. Turbosmart, thank you so much for being part of it. We have tomorrow, and we ask that you please. We'll be on track at 11 a.m. Again, final qualifying for all categories, and then eliminate. We will count to the end, and we will crown winners. We hope you have the rest of your evening, and again, please drive safely. See you back here at Bradenton Motorsports Park.